Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy VII. It's been a good hot minute since the last part, which is really bad because in the part before, I said, hey, don't worry, I won't super delay the next part to keep everything fresh and going, but that totally happened. What can I say? Video games. But in the last part, we got Vincent as a party member, so I said, hey, let's use him here, because he looks super cool. I mean, Vincent is the type of edgy design that I absolutely adore. He's just, you know, everything about the cape, the Nomura zippers, not zippers, he has belts is what he has. Everything about him is horribly edgy, and I love it, and I went out of my way to buy Dirge of Cerberus just so I can play as him in an action game in the near future. Also, Cloud is dead. But we're heading up Mount Nibel, or Nibiru-yama, as it is known in Japanese. Yes, I do have the Wikipedia page out, so I have something to talk about. So, as we head up this mountain, there will be lots of weird enemies that I will have a lot to talk about. For those who are new to this series, I am playing this in post, hence why a lot of menuing, and in the future, a lot of random battles will be cut out. For now, because Vincent's a new party member, I decided to let him be shown off a little bit. This is my first time playing Final Fantasy VII in the video, but because this is, you know, post-commentary, there's a bit more lenience with what I'm able to talk about in post now. Like, for example, these enemies here are called Q-Vildens. Q-Vildens. They resemble quadrupedic mosquitoes. See, when I see it in-game, to me they look more like grasshopper things. But I can see where you get a mosquito from. But the name is very confusing. So, and I like how it just says, the meaning of this enemy's name is unknown. And then they have to come up with reasons why it is called a Q-Vildens. And that is because it might be, Q might come from Culex, a genius of mosquito, while Biru comes from evil, and Du is in like producer, and Nus is in like the N, because the developers chose to have mu instead of N, which is like different types of Japanese letters. Guys, the names in early video games, especially RPGs, are very weird. But we got a new weapon for Cloud, the Rune Blade, which, when I think of Final Fantasy VI's Runic that, what's-her-face had. Not Terra, Celeste. She had Runic as a thing, and she would use blades, so that's what I think of. It looks like a big, dumb, like a Monster Hunter weapon, so I do enjoy it. But this other enemy we got here is actually called a Sonic Speed, and it's a big flying bird thing. There's no info on it other than that. Apparently, if you use the morph materia, it can be morphed into speed drinks. So that's kind of interesting. The morph materia probably has a lot you can do with turning enemies into stuff, but as for me, I don't end up using the morph materia too much. Final Fantasy VII has a lot of weird little things like that. The materia system is almost too open with the stuff you can do. Like, I mean, I guess it's no different from, like, my favorite Final Fantasy, which is V, in which, you know, every sort of job and whatever had abilities to kill enemies in unique and creative ways, but, I don't know. It's definitely a game that gives you a lot of options from the get-go, but you don't have to use all of them at all. I mean, I think one of my problems is I'm easily scared of new changes to the gameplay systems, if that makes sense. Like, for instance, I'm really not a fan of having... Oh, we get to see Vincent's limit break here. I'm not a big fan of skills that fail a lot, even though they might be powerful, you know? But, here we get to see Vincent's limit break, which is a very weird limit break, in my opinion. He transforms into what looks to be an old-school Final Fantasy behemoth. called the Galleon Beast. Now, the Galleon Beast is a form that he takes that you have no control over. He will fight just completely berserk. He kind of works like a Gao from Final Fantasy VI, you know? You give him a form and just let him go. And for the most part, it's like, yeah, you saw that. That was powerful. That was awesome. But this has downsides. And some of you, if you know Final Fantasy VII, you might be like, no, you didn't. Especially in this area. And to that, yes. Yes, I did. It was very annoying. We'll get to see that soon enough, though. But we have more Sonic Speeds here to fight. Not to be confused with Speed O Sound Sonics, which are, you know... For a while there, you couldn't Google or talk about... I had a friend. Okay, for context, there's a character in One Punch Man named Speedo Sound Sonic, who is a very feminine-looking guy. And I had a girl on my Facebook, and she was all like, oh man, I'm so attracted to Sonic. And I'm like, what? Because you know me, right? And I'm like, what is going on? And everyone in the replies was just agreeing with her. And I was like, so then I posted, I literally Googled sexy Sonic the Hedgehog fan art and posted that as a comment. She got mad at me because she was, of course, talking about One Punch Man. But, yeah. What a weird character name. Speed O Sound Sonic. We got a plus Barrette. Which I was like, what the hell is that? Because I didn't remember that a Barrette was the name of the weapon for Red 13. Which is, I mean, I don't, like, it makes sense. It's a hairpin, right? Or whatever. But when I see the word Barrette written in an RPG, my mind doesn't go to the Barrette as a hair thing. I thought it was like a weird mistranslation. Like, for example, Barrett's name is supposed to be Bullet, but it's Barrett, so I thought it was a plus Bullet, because, I don't know, man. Look at Vincent's little waggly feet, though. Look at him go. He's trying his best. I don't get this lie flat ability. I feel like it's meant to be sucking blood, but they couldn't write that down. So instead they just have them lie flat. So, literally, the script for the Qvildens, those guys again, because you can read the AI scripts on the Final Fantasy Wiki, and if you know anything about programming, like, the scripts for the AI are very interesting. But the one for the Qvilden is literally choose random opponent, use lay flat. That's it. That's all they do, over and over. That is the extent of their AI, which makes sense for big dumb mosquito grasshopper things. But here we have tubes. Tubes with numbers on them. Tubes with numbers on them that I incredibly ignore, because I'm really dumb. One problem with the pre-rendered graphics of Final Fantasy VII is it definitely has a problem with what is usable in the environment and what's not. Also, hi! Dragon! This is a dragon. It's literally just called a dragon. Now, this is the same dragon that Sephiroth fights, but this is a regular enemy. Now, the dragons are the strongest random enemy at Mount Nibel, and they are quite difficult. However, it's important that we fight them. And here's the reasons why. Number one, he has this ability, Flamethrower. Flamethrower can be learned with the enemy skill. And it's really good. It is really good. But also, he has a very good thing we can steal from him. If you remember, so when I got this here, I'm like, oh man, this dragon dude must have something awesome to steal. And that is the gold armlet. You can steal it from him. Now, the gold armlets aren't good at actually being used as equipment, if I'm correct. I might be super, super wrong. But if I remember correctly, no, I think they are actually pretty good. Are they actually pretty good, the gold armlets? Yeah, no, they're okay. No, they're pretty good, actually. I was being confused there for a sec, thinking of another item that you can just steal for easy money. But no, you can get gold armlets from this guy, and they actually can be repeatedly stolen and give it to all your dudes. So I would definitely try, and I do fight multiple dragons, but this is the only dragon that I actually show off, because they do take a while to kill. They are tough enemies. So that's really interesting. Also, something that's really interesting, Sephiroth in the, in a thing, if you remember in the flashback where we have Sephiroth, he says that the dragon was a result of the Nibel reactor malfunctioning, and that doesn't even make sense. Why would it create the dragon? I don't know. I feel like I'm really excited for the Final Fantasy VII Remake to actually expand upon stuff. Like, for example, why are dragons around? You know, it's like Final Fantasy 15, I feel, does a really good job setting up, okay, these monsters should not exist in this world, but they're created at night by demons and stuff. So, you know, that's some stuff. But hey, I was like, oh look, this looks like an important area. Oh no, we're not going there just yet. Oh no. But it's a good thing we went this way, actually, because then we can pull down this ladder, which means we have a easy way of getting down. But as you can see, there's a lot of pipes here, and if it's not obvious, you're supposed to travel down the pipes to try and get stuff. But here we have some other new enemies. These guys are called Twin Brains. They look disgusting and horrible. I don't want to see these guys in HD at all. They have 6 eyes, 6 mouths, 2 big horns, 1 leg, 4 arms, each with 2 fingers. They're nasty and disgusting. They're actually very resistant to magic, though, so you probably don't want to use those. They are a good source of turbo ethers, because you get them when you morph from them, and they give large amounts of experience, AP, and gil when in a group, so that is very easy. It says just use an Aqua Lung, though, and you can kill them. So these are the guys you want to grind on, if you want to grind at this point. As for me, I am personally not needing to grind. Mostly because, since I have been following a guide, which I know, maybe I shouldn't follow a guide for my first time playing through this game, but I feel bad playing through RPGs without a guide the first time. I'm not the only one, right? Like, when I'm playing through an RPG, especially a retro, like Final Fantasy, I really need to use guides, because I don't want to miss stuff. Also, hi, boss guy. Let's just avoid you for a sec, because I really don't want to deal with you. This boss in particular ain't that fun. So we're gonna do a save first, though. I thought I cut out the saving. That's okay. There's just a little bit. Before we fight the boss, let's try and get all these items and everything, though, because it is very important that we actually, you know, say, okay, there's clearly a lot of items in this room, and let's watch Long Ago Tanner try and figure out how to get them. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a brilliant man. I'm also not going to say I'm very dumb. However, I don't know if you realize this. Sometimes when I play games, I don't think clearly. Such as when I avoided the 5 very clear, very obvious pipes at the top that I can go down to get these items. We'll get them, don't worry. Just give me a second. But, so that's why, again, and it's funny, I'm talking about the remake as if it never came out, or rather, I'm talking about the remake kind of being like, oh yeah, you know, in the future and stuff, but, one day it'll come out, and I am surprised that at this point, Nomura has said, no, the remake's going well, so it's like, okay, you know, but, I am really excited to see how they go and adapt it, how they're gonna go and, for example, an area like this, you know, with this the boss here, who we're fighting right now, this guy is the Materia Keeper. What is he? I don't know. He's just a big monster. I mean, he looks cool. I actually really like his design. He's a scary monster. But, this boss, you definitely want to have the enemy skill materia on, because he gives Trine, which is a really good ability to get from him. But so you might notice, you might be like, hey, whoa, it's kind of risky having that character in your party right now. You might be like, and some of you might be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, essentially, the Materia Keeper, I mean, look at him. He looks like an elementless creature, right? But as we see, he absorbs fire. So obviously, don't use fire on him. Now, do you remember what I said when I said that you cannot control Vincent while he is in his Galleon Beast form? Well, in his Galleon Beast form, Vincent will sometimes use a very powerful fire skill. And once Vincent's transformed, until he's killed, he will not transform back. So, also shoutouts to Hell Combo. So, you know, if, for instance, he got hit by a very strong attack and got his limit break here, and I turned into the Galleon Beast thinking, oh, I'm just gonna destroy him now, but, instead I end up randomly healing the boss over the course of the rest of the fight. Like, Berserk Dance, yeah, whenever I get that, I'm like, yeah, that's great, good damage. And, you know, otherwise it's cool. But, as we'll see right away, we have Beast Flare, which I was like, wait, that's not elementless. No, that's not elementless at all. You see, Flare in Final Fantasy has been an attack that historically has been elementless. But, at the same time, it also has been fire elemental. Like in this case, where Beast Flare is anything but elementless. So, how are we gonna get around this? Well, we just have to out DPS our previous compatriot. By doing so, we're gonna just spam some summons, go all out, use limit breaks, and we do win eventually. At least we get to see some cool more summon animations, which are still really awesome. And it's funny, because, like, I know summons aren't the most powerful thing. Also, shoutouts to Gunge Lance instead of Gungear. They're not the most powerful. They're powerful, but they're not the best. But just having a big, dumb, huge animation is so awesome. I love it so much. I kind of miss when summons were just like this. They kind of, in later Final Fantasies, like, I kind of like what they did in 10, where it sort of became a replacement party member. And then 15s are amazing, if a bit, you know, overkill and randomly decided. But, I kind of like this where they're just like a one really good spell. I do like that. I think in, Final Fantasy Type 0, they were pretty cool too, where they were, you could control them. I didn't get far in Type 0, I bought it just for the Final Fantasy 15 demo, but I remember it being like, that was before they patched it, and that game had so much motion blur that it was literally unplayable. They patched it now, and turned the motion blur down, thank God, but it was bad. Yeah, no, I've done that before. I bought a game just for the demo. Is that terrible? Kind of is, but at the same time, I don't care, man. But, yeah. And then, Dissidia, it's getting, the new one, Dissidia NT, is getting really cool summons. Where, they're like, they can happen mid-battle and are like 15s, but in like a fighting game. And that's really cool. But yeah, he's using Trine here. Trine is something you do want to get, because it is a enemy skill. Which I think at this point, I was going to say, I thought we had, but no, we did not. So we got it there. There's one other, or two other places you can get it, I think it says. It's, you can get it from Godo and Stilva. So thankfully we do not have to deal with them. We do have Trine ourselves now. Now there are 3 enemy skill materia in the game, so because I didn't get the third one, I think by this point I just don't have it. But because of that, I won't be getting it with that one. But I do have it with, have it on these 2, which I think is good enough. The enemy skill materia really breaks the game. It's very good. So, let's see, what else does it say you can do? It says try using Chocomog on it, because it can inflict stop and bio to poison it. You can use time with added effect, give a 20% chance of stopping. That's really good. Regardless of whether it has the spell stop yet, that's actually really interesting. I didn't know that. That seems really good. I might use that in the future. And by the future, I mean the far-off future. Other thing says to use Odin, which we used, Aqua Lung, Quake 2, Death Blow with Vincent Sniper. Ooh, that seems like a good combo. And the Seraph Comb. So those are all things you could try and use. If Vincent is the party, it's best to not use his Galleon Beast Limit combo, as Beast Flare heals the Materia Keeper boss. So I did that myself. It was a big dumb mistake, as you can see. But on the good hand, I think did we poison him here? Is he poisoned? No. I think I do poison him later though. Poison is good to have on him. If you can poison a boss in one of these games, do it. It helps so much. Like right here I do. He is, let's see, what else does he... So he absorbs fire. Other than that, he absorbs restorative magic, which most characters do. Gravity does nothing to him. Other than that, he's immune to death, sleep, frog, small, slow numb. I didn't even know there was a slow numb combo. Petrify, berserk, manipulate, death sentence. But all the other ones he's okay with. He can be poison, made sad, fury, haste, slow, stop. All those ones. And he, which we'll see soon, he does drop a gem ring, which we do get, which is just a... I don't equip it because it's not the most amazing thing, but it's just a ring that stops, I think, slow, numb, and petrify, which is good if you're dealing with those, but honestly, I'd rather just have stats up. But yeah, here we go. We poisoned him here, which is very good. Very good to have. Bosses in games can take a long time if you make a big mistake like accidentally healing him every couple turns, you know. So let's not do that. So, I think I said before, but there is a chance that you can get back attacks on bosses in these games. It's entirely possible, and I think this enemy is one of the ones that has a high percent chance. He has a 200% chance of being hit with a back attack, which is probably not the most, but it's something. And we get counter, which is one of my favorite abilities in pretty much every RPG. But in Final Fantasy, it means you equip it, and there's a chance that after you attack, you will just do a counter hit, where you run up and slash him as, like, a counter, which is really good. There's, like, no problems with having that, unless, of course, you know, you have a situation like here, where the enemy they absorb physical, which I don't think there is for Final Fantasy ever, but there are occasionally, maybe. But we have another new enemy here, called the Screamer. It looks like Hammer Joe from Mega Man. They only has physical attacks, killed easily with enemy skills. They always inflict sadness via war cry, and they can be morphed into power sources. So that is about it. Why are they called Screamers? I don't know. Final Fantasy VII has weird character designs for its enemies. I really feel like Nomura kinda dropped the ball. Cause you really hey, me, in the past, can I move? Old Tanner, you okay, bud? I think Old Tanner's reading the guide. Just a little bit. But, yeah. I feel like, cause I don't think Nomura did the character designs for the enemies of 7. I typed in Nomura and I got a lot of things that were not Tetsuya Nomura. So let's type in Tetsuya Nomura. Let's see, what did he do specifically for 7? Let's see here. So for Final Fantasy VII, he was the character design, battle visual designer, and the base story writer. That's actually very interesting. I didn't know that. So he did have a rather large position here. But that was not... Let's see here. Oh, no, don't bookmark Tetsuya Nomura. Final Fantasy VII enemy designer. Who designed the enemies? Okay, so I literally type it in, and it comes up with a GameFAQs board saying they should retcon every single enemy design for the Final Fantasy VII remake. Which, you know what? Hey, I'm not really saying that is definitely... Yeah. No, there's like... the response is, hey, let's not jump the gun here. Butterfly bird wearing steampunk goggles and holding an egg beater is the most iconic enemy. And what about My Little Super Saiyan Mew? Osama bin Troll Penguin. And all those girls in swimsuits hanging around dancing frogs. Don't forget Hell House. Yeah, Final Fantasy VII's character designers... I'm sorry, Tetsuya Nomura, I didn't mean to say that, unless you did design them, in which case, you man. Final Fantasy VII's enemy designs are messed up and weird. And I really feel like there was, like, a lack of thinking with who they should, like, make them look like, but, oh well. But coming all this way, we get an elemental material, which, hey, that's always helpful. You throw it on something, you tie it to something, you can get the element on your weapon, on your armor. It's amazing how, though, with Final Fantasy, if you know, like, future bosses and stuff, you can exploit it so easily. Like, for example, it was in this game, of course, you got the elemental material. In Final Fantasy V, you got Spellblade. There's Spellblade also in Bravely Default, which is a series that, it's weird. It's literally like Final Fantasy V-2 and all but story. If you want the story of Final Fantasy V-2, there is a Final Fantasy V sequel movie. That's right. There was a sequel movie to Final Fantasy V, an old school anime. Apparently it's not very good. I haven't watched it. Maybe I will in the future. But, even though Bravely Default is pretty much Final Fantasy V-2, I actually don't like it. And it's weird, because I feel like if someone said to me, hey look, Kate, let's imagine this. Brand new Square Enix RPG. Uses pretty much everything from Final Fantasy. The summons, the enemy names, the spell names, all that stuff you like. Pre-rendered backgrounds are back. And it uses the job system. Like, what would you say to that? And like me personally, I'd say that sounds awesome. I'm super down. But I actually feel like, and I know people will very much disagree with me, the couple of modernization techniques used in Bravely Default, I actually don't really like. I actually think the Brave system and the Default system are too deep, if that makes sense. Like, I always feel like I'm using them wrong. I'd actually be down without them. Does that make sense? I don't know. Plus, I liked the characters in story, but I definitely didn't love them. I do have Bravely Default and Bravely Second, because I went to a GameStop where they're having bring in your games and get extra trade-in credit, and then they had a deal where it's like, yeah, trade in games and get extra ones free. So I got Final Fantasy, get this, I got Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13-2, and Lightning Returns, and Bravely Second, which just came out for like $40, which was about the price of Bravely Second. So basically, for buying Bravely Second, I got Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, and 13-3 for free. And you might be saying, why did you buy those games? And at the time I was like, man, I could play Final Fantasy 13, it's fine. Final Fantasy 13's not very good. I needed it though. Gotta complete the collection, you know? Gotta complete them. But, as you can see, we can head back to the reactor. And there's nothing here. Not a thing. No character even says anything. Which is a bit weird, but oh well. So, that was fun to see, fun to explore. We gotta listen to that little jam, the reactor song, which again, I knew from Final Fantasy Chocobo Tales, where they used it for one of the final dungeons. Apparently that game was full of remixed Final Fantasy music. Being the not Final Fantasy fan that I am now, when I got Final Fantasy Chocobo Tales, I didn't recognize it. So that was interesting. But I finally was like, hey, what if I, like, oh my god, I can get a whole bunch of awesome stuff, like Power Soul, which sounds super hype. What the heck is Power Soul? Did I even look it up? Final Fantasy VII Power Soul. What is the Power Soul? Not the Parasol. Oh, it's Tifa's weapon. Okay, it's a weapon for Tifa that powers up near death. So, let's see, what's it say? Power Soul works is death sentence and critical health. Death sentence gives 4 times damage and critical health gives 2 times. They can stack for 8 times damage. Wow! So it basically makes Tifa a glass cannon if you use it. That's super cool. God, there are so many little strategies for this game that, like, you have to be really smart and know how the game is built to use, you know? And I guess that's part of the replay factor. That's why, honestly, I feel Final Fantasy games are some of the most replayable RPGs out there. I don't know if people will agree with me always, but, like, there's always so many small little things you can learn and do to optimize your play, making, especially Final Fantasy, speedruns very fun to watch. Because you can exploit stuff to heckin' back. I mean, if you play the game normally, it's like, yeah, you know, you're doing pretty good. But if you're doing something, you know, doing all these crazy stuff, you can... There's reasons why low-level runs of games exist, and it's really cool. I'm really looking forward to, once I finish Final Fantasy VII, as of this recording, by the way, let's just say I'm a little past a certain north part of the game, if you know what I'm saying, you know, wink, wink, wink. Also, we got an all material, which is always nice. But I'd love to watch the AGDQ speedrun of this game, or SGDQ, or whatever, because I've really grown to love speedruns. Seeing how games can be just destroyed, it's wonderful. But, of course, you don't want to ruin that as, like, you know, you don't want to see that as your first view of a game, I feel. Because I remember they did a playthrough of Nier Automata, and people were saying, wow, this game looks boring and generic, and it's like, boy, what is wrong with you? But as you can see, we approach, just give it a sec, we're approaching the bottom of the mountain. We hop down here. And, I don't know if you know this, but hopping down here is how you're supposed to get around to that one part up there. Meaning, by jumping down there, yeah, I get a few more items, but, for the most part, this is a big, long, roundabout way of getting, like, we get this item here. But, I just made my journey a whole lot longer for a whole lot of nothing. But that's okay. Because we have the power of the 3 times speed booster, which is the most beautiful thing. It truly is. They brought it back for the Final Fantasy XII remake, which I also picked up. Again, I don't have much intention of playing much of 12. Because honestly, I don't love... I mean, mind you, I haven't had much time to give it a shot. But I know people love 12. And I played about 2 hours of it. And it's fun, but it's not pulling me in immediately. I need to play more of it, though, obviously. People love 12. But they added that to 12. And not only does it have 2 times speed, it has 4 times speed. Which is literally unplayable. But as you can see, as we round the bend with one final battle on our way out, these let me pronounce. How do you pronounce this? Qvildens. It'd be easier to say in Japanese. It is Qvildens. Calvindunus. What a stupid enemy name. Regardless, let's round around the mountain, and we are out. We're finally out of Nibelheim, the Mount Nibel area. We're gonzo. Thank you all for watching, guys. I'm gonna record more of these parts because, you know, I kind of need to. I may or may not be getting some surgery done and will have no time to record videos because my mouth will be totally destroyed. So, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time for some more Final Fantasy VII. Ciao! You can push yourself to